there, my name is Grace. Today, I'm going to be sharing something very personal. I'm going to be sharing my birth story. I currently had a baby, my second baby, about 5 weeks ago, and I want to share all the details of what my experience was with you guys. I'll be looking down in case you see me looking down because I have things written down here so I don't forget anything because after 5 weeks, most of the details have left my brain, but I have most of it written down. So I would give you guys a background. For my first baby, I had a cesarean section, C-section. One of the reasons why I had a CS was because I was scared of birthing a baby. I remember having conversations with my friends and telling them that I don't think I can push any human being out of my body. Please, they should tear me and bring out the baby. And I remember even praying and asking God that please, He should just make things to happen in a way that the doctor would say, let us have a CS.
Looking back, I think one of the reasons why I was very scared of labor and delivery was because I had zero knowledge of what my body was doing during the process of labor and delivery. When you're pregnant, there are so many pregnancy apps that tells you, okay, you are in month 1, you're in month 2, your baby is this size, your baby is that size. But no one is really talking about what is happening to your body during labor and delivery. Like there is no app that tells you that, and that's because labor and delivery is different for every woman. Like the process is different for every woman. And also coupled with what we see on the media, scary stories of labor and delivery, it was just a very scary thing for me to imagine. So I just told myself, I don't think I have the strength or capacity to push any baby out. And thankfully, because at that point, with my first baby, that was my desire. I do not want to push any baby out of my body. And I just think that things happened because of that desire. Things just happened in that direction, and I ended up with a cesarean section. After I had my first baby, just before I became pregnant with my second, I started to do some research just to understand more about my body, understand more about what this process of delivery was. Because as much as like the people have their different opinions about CS or vaginal delivery, whether which one is easy, which one is not. But I knew that I wanted to have more children, and I did not want to be having a cesarean section every time I had a child. Research even shows that if you have more than 2 or 3 cesarean sections, you will not be able to have a vaginal birth again. And I would share more about that in a minute. But because I wanted to have more children, so I decided that, okay, I can try vaginal birth, but I need to understand what is going on during a vaginal birth, right? I need to know what my body does during a vaginal birth. So I started doing research. I started watching videos. I started reading so many articles just to understand what that process was like. And the moment I started to learn more about the process, the more the fear that I had started to leave. So as my mind was being open to more of, okay, this is what happens, I was becoming more knowledgeable. The fear started to reduce bit by bit, and I got to the point where I was no longer scared of vaginal birth. Matter of fact, I was actually aiming for a home birth. I wanted to have my baby at home because I had done so many research and I was so much in tune with my body with my second. I knew that my body was capable of birthing a human being. So I was ready for it, and I'm like, if this baby comes at home, I am ready, I'll catch the baby. That was how courageous I was. Now, because I had a cesarean with my first, when you have a cesarean and you are pregnant again and you want to attempt a vaginal birth, this is called VBAC, that's vaginal birth after cesarean. Or I think the other one is POLAC, I can't remember. But VBAC is what it's called generally. So, and with a VBAC, there are several things that that comes into play because your uterus has an injury, because that's what happens when you have a CS. They are cutting from the outer layer of your skin into your body, into your uterus to bring out the baby. So because your uterus has an injury, any tug or tear, or any tug rather, can cause that injury line to tear open again, and that is very dangerous. So your doctors, if you're attempting a VBAC, your doctors are going to be very cautious. They're going to be asking you a lot of questions. One of the questions that they asked me was, when was your cesarean session? Because you cannot have a vaginal birth if your cesarean session was just maybe 1 year ago or even 2 years ago. You cannot have a vaginal birth. It has to be like between 2 or 3 years. I think between either between 18 months. I think 18 months is a max. But on the average between 2 or 3 years, and I had my CS 3 years ago, so I was a good candidate for a vaginal birth. But aside from that, yeah, other things that they would ask you, other factors, your cervix, they will check so many things, and these things they will normally not check if you're having vaginal birth without a cesarean prior. They would not ask you all these things, but when you're having a VBAC, they have to be very careful because every doctor's fear and every mother's fear is uterine rupture. That is when your uterus ruptures. It is dangerous for the mother, it is dangerous for the baby. There are cases where the baby died, the mother died, or both baby and mother died. So doctors are usually very particular about that. So with all of this information in mind, I already knew that, okay, these are all the things that I have to be aware of. When I was going for my doctor's appointment, I always had questions based on all this research that I had done because I wanted to have the right expectation. And if there's one thing that you take away from this entire conversation is when you are writing your birth plan, because that's one thing that most people do. I want this to be my birth plan, I want that to be my birth plan. When you're writing your birth plan, it's very, very important that your birth plan is fact based, right? Your expectations are based on facts, not just wishes, right? They have to be based on facts, like, okay, this is what is obtainable. So I had all my facts and my expectations were based on those facts. So because I'd done a VBAC, I knew that these are what I'd done a CS rather, I knew that this and these were the things that I'll be able to do, these are things I will not be able to do. These are the expectations that I can have. I cannot have this kind of expectations. So, with all of this backstory, now let's dive into the process of the VBAC.
So it all started on a Monday. That Monday, I was 41 weeks pregnant, and my doctor had told me if by Monday you're 41 weeks, there's no contraction, there's nothing, you can come into the hospital and we will try to see how to start some manual induction. I'll go into all of that later. And that was because I was really fed up. At 40 weeks, I was really done. At some point, I wanted to opt for a CS because I'm like, why is this? I had my first baby at 38 weeks. So that's what I was used to. 39 weeks, I was still going. 40 weeks, I was done. At some point, I packed my bag, I went to the hospital and told them, please admit me. But they sent me back home. So my doctor was like, okay, at 41 weeks, if you're still feeling this way, come. We will check you to see if there's any progress, whether you're dilating or anything. Even if you're not dilating, we'll try to manually start to induce you and just prepare your body, let your body know that, okay, oh, it's labor time. So at 41 weeks on the Monday, I packed my things and went to the hospital. And we got there at around 1 p.m. The doctor checked me, checked the baby's heartbeat, everything was okay. There was still no contraction at all. So he said that I was going to be admitted. During all my visits to the doctor, we literally drafted a betting plan based on my peculiar situation and what was available at the hospital to help me, what was suitable for me, for my peculiar, because every pregnancy is peculiar, right? So the doctor had told me that, okay, we can't use medicine to induce you, but we can use the Foley balloon. That's what it's called. I'll see if you can insert a picture of the Foley balloon. It's like a catheter. I don't know if you've ever been admitted to the hospital and then they had to plug something to your where your urine comes out from, so that instead of you going to the toilet to pee, you'll now be peeing into a bag. So that's how that one is as well. But this one is going to your cervix. It's like a bulb. They would put the bulb before inflating the bulb. They'll put it, it's thin like this, they'll put it into your cervix, and then they would inflate it with water. So it's thin like this when it's going into your cervix, but when they inflate it, it now forms a ball inside your cervix. So the goal of that is it will, because there's a ball inside your cervix, it's putting pressure on your cervix. So let's say this is your cervix, this is the ball. So the ball is putting pressure on your cervix so that it can continue to open, because your cervix has to be open. If you've heard people's birth vlog, you hear that, oh, you have to be 10 centimeters dilated. Yes, your cervix has to be up to 10 centimeter. If you have a ruler, just check what's the measurement of 10 centimeter. That's how open your cervix has to be before you can give birth to your baby. So what that bulb does is to put pressure on your cervix so that it will continue to gradually be opening up the cervix. Now the bulb measurement is about 4 5 centimeter. Like when it's inflated, it's about 4 5 centimeters. So the goal is after about 24 hours, the ball should fall out by itself. That means that it has helped you to open up your cervix to about 4 5 centimeters, if that makes any sense. That was the first process that we're going to go through, and after that, that would help my cervix to open up a bit, because at this point my cervix was not open at all. So that would help my cervix to open up, and that would now like make my body to know, okay, something is happening, start contracting, is delivery time. Like they were just trying to trick my body to get into labor, basically. So when I got to the hospital that day and they checked me, they admitted me, that was the first thing that they did. So by 5 p.m. that day, they put in the Foley bulb, that's what it's called, and I was told to just move around, just do the normal thing, that they would check me the next day. Oh, it's not even 24 hours, it's actually 12 hours. So they will check me the next day by around 5 a.m. to see how much progress I've gone. The positive outcome they were looking out for is that by 5 a.m., the ball should have dropped by itself, right? So they put that in, and like around 8 p.m., I started contracting, and they were painful, they were irregular, they were not, they were coming and going, and they were not closely paced, but at least my body was getting into the rhythm that, okay, something is about to happen. So I started contracting. I was able to sleep at some point, and the contraction started by like from 8 p.m. to the next morning. I was contracting. At some point, I started bleeding as well, but I was told that it's normal, like to see slight bleeding, it's normal. Then at around 6 a.m. the next morning, the balloon fell out, and I was so happy, guys. I was so happy. So this is now Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. Around 9 a.m., my doctor had come to the hospital and he checked me. And guys, guess what? He said that I was 6 centimeters dilated. Oh, the kind of happiness that I was happy. I was so joyed. 6 centimeters. You know what that means? Like people labor for over a day and they are 2 centimeters dilated. And me just overnight 6 centimeters. And the interesting thing is when my doctor was putting in the Foley ball, the Foley whatever, I told him that when I see you tomorrow, I'll be 6 centimeters dilated. He was just laughing at me. Say, you see this woman. I said, Dr. B, that's what I call him, Dr. B. Tomorrow, 6 centimeters. I went to my sister. I said, I told you. He said, okay, you're 6 centimeters, but you're still not contracting. Your contractions are still not strong. Oh, I said, all right. So what's the next step? So the next step on our plan was, if after the Foley balloon is taken out, you're still not contracting, like your body's not bringing strong contractions enough to push the baby down, then they would manually break my waters. So at 9 a.m. on Tuesday now, they broke my waters. So it was just coming out in trickles. I had to wear a pad. It was coming out in trickles. And I was contracting, but it was on and off. So throughout Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., my contractions were just going on and off here and there. I would move around, do squats. Thinking back, I was even wondering, why did I stress my body? Because after, imagine you are doing squats, you are doing jumping jacks, doing different exercise, and the next day you had to push a baby out. After I gave birth, it seemed like a truck had run over me because of the kind of pressure I put my body on. All my waist wanted to fall out. Anyways, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., my contractions were going back and forth here and there. And then by 9 p.m., my doctor checked me again. I was still 6 centimeters dilated. Oh, God. He said, Grace, this is 12 hours or nothing. And after they break your waters, you can only stay 24 hours before they have to take the baby out, because when they break your waters, that means that the fluid that is surrounding your baby, which is what keeps the baby safe and cushioned, is reducing. And if the fluid dries out, your baby is at risk. So my doctor said, When I come back tomorrow at 9 a.m., which is now 24 hours, if your contractions have not gotten stronger. So what he wanted was, he wanted my contractions to be um 3 in 10 minutes. So I should have three contractions in 10 minutes. So that's like one contraction in like 3 minutes. So every 3 minutes I should have a contraction. And then I was having maybe one in 10 minutes or even one in 20 minutes. So I remember that Tuesday night before he left, he told me that if your contraction has not gotten stronger by tomorrow morning, we have to opt for a CS, because there's nothing else. We cannot induce you further. These are the two options we can go. Your body has to start contracting by itself. Even if we are going to help you make the contraction faster, it has to start and it has to get stronger by itself before we can do anything again. I remember I just broke down and started crying, and I was like, God, did I wait for 41 weeks? And I've been in labor for, at that point, because my contraction started the previous day by 6 p.m. At that point, it was over 24 hours of me being in labor already. And the contractions, even though they were not coming back to back, they were painful. So I'd been in pain all that period. So did I go through all of this and then I would now still be wheeled into a theater? I was so broken. My doctor saw me crying and was like, Grace, wait, no, no, don't cry, don't worry. You still have till tomorrow. Like anything can happen overnight. Your contractions can get stronger overnight. So don't worry. You don't want to be in a negative mind space, because that will also affect how your body responds. And thankfully, my husband was with me throughout all this period. So we prayed that night, and my husband just prayed and said, God, please let your will be done. Just orchestrate everything, let your will be done. And that's exactly what happened. God's will was done. Let me give you guys about that backstory. Because in the hospital, or even in most Nigerian hospitals, most doctors, most gynecologists, they just opt for the easiest way out. Not like in a bad way, but I would say safest way out. They just want you and your baby to be safe and quick. Yes, quickest and safest way out. That's what they want. No doctor would wait for that long, trying all those different steps and procedures when they could easily wheel you into a theater. I had a friend that we had babies almost the same time, actually two friends, and both of them had a CS. One of them, yes, I understood the reason. The other one, I don't think that the reason was enough for them to ask her to have a CS. But that's how most doctors are. Like, they just want the safest, quickest way out of something. So to find a doctor that was willing to ride with me from Monday, this is Tuesday now, I'm not making any serious progress, and he was still encouraging me. Anytime I think about it, it's just like God's, when they said the heart of a king, or when the Bible says the heart of a king is in the hand of God, I literally prayed and said, God, let Dr. B's heart be in your hands. Just guide him, whatever he should do. Before he came to see me on Tuesday evening, let me add this. Before my doctor came to see me on Tuesday evening, he was very hesitant. He kept sending other doctors to come and see me. I said, I want to see my gynecologist. He said, he's busy, he's busy. But I felt like I'm sure he was just thinking, what should I do with this woman? Like, she's not progressing as I expected. And I told him that I really want to have a vaginal birth. And he wanted to give me that my desire. Do you understand? If not, he would have insisted all the while, let's just go to the theater. But he was being very kind and very patient, and he did not want to push my desires to the side. He really wanted me to have what I wanted. So he was very hesitant to come and see me. And then when he now came and he told me, if nothing happens tomorrow, we're going to wheel you into the theater. And he now saw me crying. It was, anytime I think about it, I'm just like, because I was also tired, but I just didn't want to have come all that way and still go. Also, I was thinking that my body had failed me. So there were just so many emotions, honestly. But after he encouraged me and we prayed, I slept. That was like around 9 p.m. ish. I slept. At that period, I was not having any contraction, nothing. No. So I slept, and the worst contractions woke me up by 11 p.m. The worst, that I had to go into the bathroom, turn on the hot shower, and I was having back contraction. If you Google back contraction, you would see so many horror stories. Like, it's like one of the most painful type of labor. Back labor is so painful. That is, most of your contractions are happening at your back. So normally your contraction is supposed to happen at your lower tummy, and then it can come up to your mid tummy or upper tummy. But this one was happening at my back. It was so painful. So from 11, the contraction started really strong, and more consistent. So I called the doctor, the nurses, and the midwives. We started tracking it, and like around 2 a.m. ish, this is now Wednesday, my contractions were now really closely together, like 3 in 10 minutes, and they were so strong. So it was at that point. So all this while, my midwife was in communication with my gynecologist, and he told them that once it gets to 3 contractions in space of 10 minutes, take her to the labor room and let the monitor start to track her heartbeat, baby's heartbeat, make sure everything is fine. So I was taken to the labor room at around 2 a.m. and I was there till I had my baby. So at 2 a.m. I was there. I was still trying to sleep through the contractions. They were so strong. I was begging for pain relief. They said they can't give me pain relief because they want to monitor everything. They want to monitor exactly how I'm feeling. They want to be sure that this contraction is strong enough. Because I remember when I was contracting earlier, my doctor said, I don't think you've experienced the real contraction, because if you have, it is so painful that you'll not be able to talk. And I experienced it, it was really painful. So from 2 a.m., they were monitoring my baby's heartbeat. Sometimes it will fluctuate and they'll tell me, okay, change your position. I'll change my position to get better. But generally, things were going fine. And around 6 a.m., this is now Wednesday, the third day, around 7 a.m. ish, my doctor came to check me. I was still 6 centimeters dilated. I'm like, which kind of problem is this? So I've been laboring for over, like, from 11 p.m. This is now 6 a.m. You're telling me that this dilation did not move. So what else can move this thing? So my doctor was like, okay, now I can see that your body is actually contracting. Your body is doing what it's supposed to do. At this point, we can now assist your body a little further, because the goal is for your body, your contraction to be strong enough to push the baby down, because it's the weight of the baby that will open up your cervix from 6 to 10 centimeter. So we need your contraction to be that strong so you can push your baby down, so your baby can help you open up your cervix and you can birth this baby. So he told me the next thing that he can do is to give me the lowest dose of oxytocin, like one of the medications used for induction, and it's not safe to use for women who are trying to have a vaginal birth after cesarean. But the reason why he could use it on me was because like he explained, you can't use it to start the process. The process has to start by itself, and then along the way, if your body needs some assistance, you can now give a very little dose to help make the contraction stronger. So that was what we did. I was 6 centimeters dilated at that time, and I just needed some assistance. So he gave me the tiniest dose of oxytocin, and it was in a drip form. And I remember him telling the doctor that they should regulate. You can regulate how many drops of the drip like comes into the body. To regulate it to be 10 drops per, was it 10 drops per minute, something like that, 10 drops per minute. So that small amount was coming into my system. But let me tell you guys, the moment the first drop of that oxytocin enter my vein, God, that's when I knew that other contraction I was doing earlier, it was play. It was at that point I started calling the names of God. All the names of God I called. I called every single one. To the point that the hospital security, they were at the gate to the security post. They had to come inside to ask that, are they kidnapping anybody? Is anybody trying to run for their life? What is going on? That's how much I was screaming. They kept saying, Grace, don't scream. Grace, don't scream. Don't cry. Breathe, breathe, breathe. All the breathing exercises that I learned, all the breathing techniques, I forgot everything. I will try to breathe. I said, this one is not a breathing problem. Let me call the name of my God to come and help me. That's only who I called my God. I called all his names in all the languages that I knew. God, I called him. Please help me. Because that thing was painful. If anyone has described contraction, it will come like a wave. So your body, you will know that it's coming. It will start to be small. Say it's coming, and that one is coming, and that one is coming. Then it will go up. Then I will scream. It will go to the apex. I will scream. Then it will start coming down. Imagine that you're experiencing that 3 in 10 minutes, and then it became closer. It was now 3 in 5 minutes. It was now 1 in 1 minute. At some point, it was not allowing me rest. As I'm finishing one, and that one is starting. Then they checked me and said I'm 8 centimeters. At least I said, at least this pain is not in vain. At least I'm making progress. So from like 10, between 9 where they gave me the oxytocin to like 11, I was already 8 centimeter. From 11, I had my baby at 1 p.m. From 11 to 1 p.m., I went from 8 centimeter to 10 centimeter. And when when you hear about labor, you hear, oh, it's time to push. In my own time, there was no time to push. Oh, I could feel that the baby was almost there. Like they checked me and said they can feel the baby's head. The baby is almost here. But they were like, it will still take another 1 hour. That's what my midwife said, it will take another 1 hour before this baby comes. But the way the contraction was happening. When I was researching about birth, one thing that I learned was, I think it's called fetal ejection, where your body literally eject the baby out of you. Like your contractions are so strong that you cannot control it. It's not even like they're telling you push. Like you're not trying to push the baby out. The baby is coming out by itself. That's what I experienced. At around 12 noon, I told the midwife that this baby would be here very soon. Go and call the gynecologist and any other person that needs to be here. She was like, no, it will still take a while. Maybe it was around 12:30. It will still take about 1 hour. Don't worry. Just try to rest in between contraction. I said, this baby is almost here. I was in and out of this world because of the pain of the contraction. But each time I would come back to myself, I said, this baby is almost here. Go and call the doctor. She said, no, Grace, don't worry. It's not yet time. When she saw that my body was already pushing, she was like, Grace, stop pushing. I said, I'm not the one pushing. This is my body that is pushing itself. She said, Grace, try to hold it. You tear yourself. At some point, I even pooped. She said, Grace, try to. I said, I cannot hold it. You know when strong shit is holding you and you can't hold it. Like that's how it was. I was like, I can't hold it. Go and call the doctor. He said, okay, no problem. Let me check. And she just put her hand to check. The baby's head was already out. She was now telling me, close your leg, close your leg. Grace, don't push the baby out yet. Hold on, close your leg. I think the baby came out in maybe like 5 minutes after that time. Like the baby flew out of my body. I can't remember pushing the baby out. I can't remember them telling me push. All I was hearing was don't push, don't push. Because my body was literally pushing the baby out. I can remember the relief once the baby's head came out. Oh, I was so relieved. And it's just really fascinating how the body works. Immediately the baby's head came out, all the contractions stopped. I don't even know when my placenta came out. I can't remember all of that part. But once the baby's head came out and the body came out, that was the end. Another thing I remember was they told me they wanted to. I had not discussed whether I wanted them to episiotomy. I had not discussed that with my doctor whether I wanted them to tear me or not. But with the way my body was expelling the baby out, and I think I was not well positioned. I was lying at my back. If I was probably standing up or in all fours, it would have been easier for the baby to come out without me tearing. But because of how I was positioned, I think the pressure was too much when the baby was, and the force with which the baby came out, because like I said, nobody was coaching me to push. My body was just pushing. So I tore, and my doctor actually tore me. So before my baby's head came out, he tore me a little, and then when the baby head came out, I also tore. So I had like two tears, which that one's story for another day. But I was just so happy. I remember the emotions I was feeling when I was told that when baby came out, I was not told. The baby came out of me. I was just so happy, even though it was a very painful process with the contraction and everything. And I was in pains, like my body was paining me, but the only emotion I could feel was happiness and joy. Like I was so happy that I got to that point of giving birth vaginally because I want to have more babies. I knew that I did not want to continue having a cesarean like for all my babies. So it was one thing like I really wanted. I really wanted to have this baby vaginally, and just getting to that finish line and seeing my baby, it was so heartwarming. So as I wrap up this video, some things that really stood out throughout the journey, and these are things that even people were telling me after I had the baby, from the nurses in the hospital to the midwives. They kept saying, you have so much faith. Because at some point, the day I had my baby on Wednesday, a midwife came with blade. She wanted to shave me. If you've had a CS, you know that they will prepare you for the CS. They'll have to shave your tummy before the surgery. And she came and wanted to shave me. And I said, why do you want to shave me? First of all, I don't use shaving stick. I wax, and I had done a wax few weeks before my due date. So it's not as if there was hair, anything to shave. But I'm like, why do you want to shave me? And she said, I just want to prepare you for CS. I said, who told you that I'm going to have a CS? Did my doctor tell you that I was going to have a CS? Like, that's how much faith I had. Like, I was so full of faith. Like, I did not want to accept anything else. That's how it was. And thinking back, it was unconscious. It's not as if I said, this is a do or die affair. Honestly, if it came to a point where I was becoming too weak or my baby was not responding well, and he said, this is the next step of action, I was going to sign the papers for them to wheel me to the theater. But I knew that I was still strong enough to go through this, and I was just full of faith. Like I don't know where that faith came from. I really believed in God and believed in myself that I was able to go through this, no matter how painful it was. So that's one thing. And even after I had the baby, my friends and family, they kept saying, wow, you had so much faith in yourself. And it's not as if I was telling them, oh, I have so much faith or anything in our conversation, but they could just sense it in how I was talking about it. Second thing which I mentioned earlier is that you have to have your expectations backed up with facts, not just mere imagination. Like, you need to get the facts right, whether you're getting the facts from your doctor or you're getting the facts from doing your own research. You can't just be having fancy expectations. Like I said earlier, there was no way they could induce me initially with oxytocin, like at the beginning of the whole thing. There was no way that could happen because the facts were there. You can't do that. It's not safe for you and for your baby. So with your expectations, when you're writing, drafting your birth plan, when you're having conversations with your doctor, make sure that your expectations are backed with facts. If you don't take anything from the video, take this. Like, it's very important. And you are your advocate, you are your baby's advocate. Nobody will advocate for you like yourself. So it's very important that you understand this entire process of giving birth, understand what your body is about to do, so that you can ask the right questions. So that if somebody is coming to tell you something that is wrong, say, no, 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 I don't think that's correct. This is what I know about this. If we have to open Google together, let's open the Google together and research it together there. So, mamas, you are your own advocate, you are your baby's advocate. And it is also important if you can share this information that you have. Like, if you've done research, you can share the information with your partner or anyone that is going to be in the labor room with you, because there are times where they would have to advocate for you, and they cannot advocate if they don't have the knowledge. So as you're doing your research, as you're having conversation with your doctor, carry your partner along. Okay, this is what we are going to be doing. Oh, I remember sharing so many links with my husband and asking him to read about all those things, so that in the labor room, when I'm so tired or when I'm sleeping and he needs to be my advocate, he has the proper knowledge and information that he needs. That brings me to the end of this video. I hope you learned one or two things from it. I hope it inspired you, gave you some morale. If you're attempting to have a VBAC, it's possible to have a VBAC. The situation might be different for you. You need to have conversation with your doctor to know what is applicable to you. But I believe everything is possible. Thank you so much once again, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye. Before you go, have you subscribed? You. Please, can you subscribe? Please subscribe, leave a comment, like, share this video with a new mama, an expecting dada. Thank you.